that immigration application was my grandfather. The man who served in the Royal Navy was my dad. And today, I am the proud Member of Parliament for South Shields, the same constituency as Tutor Heed, that Home Secretary. My predecessor as Labour Foreign Secretary in that great reforming government was Ernest Bevin. And Bevin once offered his vision of foreign policy to this conference. He said in the late 1940s that he wanted to be able to go to Victoria Station and buy a train ticket and travel anywhere around Europe without the threat of war or conflict or violence. That bright hope out of the dark days of war can motivate us today. If they could do it, then so can we. So this is the test for every speech and every session of this conference: to defeat fatalism and replace it with hope. In foreign policy, that's hard. Think of the terrible, murderous bombing in Islamabad on Saturday. Iran trying to acquire a nuclear weapon. Sudan seemingly stuck in endless conflict. Russia invading its neighbour, greenhouse gases rising. And now, as Alistair explained this morning, a global banking crisis. That world and that story leads some people to say that if you draw a straight line from here to the future, you get chaos. They are the fatalists. But there is a different story, a story that should give pride to our party and pride to our country. It's a story that speaks directly to our values. Think of Kenya. In December last year, Kenya was on the verge of civil war. Children were battered to death. Women were herded into churches, and the churches were then burned down. Yet today, Kenya has a democratically elected Prime Minister. Conference, take pride in this, that he told me that the avoidance of civil war, the installation of a democratic government, would not have happened without Britain. Take pride in this too, that in May the world came together in Dublin to agree a global ban on cluster munitions. Cluster munitions which maim and mutilate long after a conflict is over. Those talks were deadlocked. And the deadlock was broken by one man, our Prime Minister, Gordon Brown. That is the sort of difference he makes in the world. Conference, I have visited Kabul and Kandahar, Basra and Baghdad, talked to our armed services, our diplomats, our aid workers, people going to the toughest places. But I've also talked to Afghans and to Iraqis, and what do they want? They want a future free from fear. But they need young British men and women, some of them not even in their 20s, to fight the dust and the danger, to go out on roads where their friends have been attacked and sometimes killed, in order to make the security possible for those people to have a future free from fear. So, Conference, take pride in the fact that the British people produced armed services that around the world are a force for decency and good all over the world. And let's be proud too of things that aren't a matter of life and death. Over the next 4 years, the eyes of the world are going to turn to London, our capital city, the greatest capital city in the world. And they're going to turn to us because we are hosting the Olympics in 2012. Remember, 1996, 1 gold medal. 2008, 19 gold medals and 42 in the Paralympics. 1996, £53 million of taxpayers' money spent on sport. 2008, over £400 million of taxpayers' money spent on sport. Take greatest pride in the athletes, their coaches, their families who gave them support. But let's have a little bit of pride that it was a Labour government that made that investment possible. And then the handover ceremony. Mayor Boris Johnson. The decimation of the British fashion industry in one photo opportunity. Conference. Let's resolve this. That the Labour government, which brought the Olympics to Britain, will be the Labour government that hosts the Olympics in Britain in 2012. Fatalism or hope. The difference is about us. It's about our confidence in our values and our ability to apply them in radical new ways in very changed circumstances, not just at home, but abroad too. And this is our claim. It's a very big claim. That if you want order and stability in the modern world, then you need progressive values to put them into practice. Think about it. Our party was created over 100 years ago to extend democracy and equal rights in our country. And we all know we've still got a way to go. But if we want to protect ourselves now, in the modern world, we don't just need to advance democracy in Britain. We need to advance democracy and equal rights right around the world. Why? Because a world order in which authoritarian governments oppress their own people is a threat to stability, not just in those countries, but is a threat to our stability too. That is why we are in Afghanistan at all. People say we should just pursue the terrorists with military means. And we do need to pursue them. But in Afghanistan, the alternative to a democratic government, properly elected, is a Taliban government, not elected at all, overrunning the country and providing a safe space for Al-Qaeda. That's why our values of democracy matter in the modern world. And think too of our responsibilities today towards Pakistan. Over 800,000 British citizens have heritage in Pakistan. Let us say today, we mourn with the people of Pakistan in their days of terrible loss. We reach out to those Britons of Pakistani origin, and we say to them, you are our friends, our relatives, our neighbors, our fellow citizens, and we grieve with you too. And let me say this as well. I know that this conference will join me in the resolve that I expressed to President Zardari yesterday on the telephone. We will stand with the people of Pakistan as they fight this evil, and we will stand with them shoulder to shoulder as long as it takes.